hapo kuna kwanga na ile debate inakuanga between getting out of bed, not getting out of bed. So thank you for coming. It's good to see you guys. It's good to have you here. As we start, I want you to face someone. I don't know venye tumeketi, but you can stand and then ask your neighbor what they define worship as. What is worship to you? That's the question. So you can stand and then just have a conversation about that with the person next to you. Asanteni. Please feel free to walk over to someone if you're seated like really far from people. Yeah. What is worship to you? What do you define worship as? That's the question. What is worship? And then the second question you're going to ask them is why they think we have worship. Like when you come to church, why do you think we worship? Like specifically, first umemuliza what they define worship as, and then why do they think we have worship? Specifically the musical aspect of it. When you come to church, how do we, the way we start our services, why do they think we do that? That's the second question. So I'm hoping those conversations have been productive. So for the guys who are just joining us, for the guys who are online, we started by asking the question, what is worship to you? And then the second question was, why do you think we have it? For example, when you walk in here, we start with music. Why do you think we do that? So you can feel free to type it out in the chat section. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear it. And I hope you guys got to hear from your neighbors why they think we have worship and how they define it. Okay? And so the reason I ask that is because for some of us, worship is an icebreaker. Unakuja church, alafu sasa tuna worship ndio watu wakwe comfortable kidogo, ama ndio to set the tone, the atmosphere. It's like trying to curate a moment, but that's not why we worship. So if you will allow me, I'd like to read to you what I wrote because I might forget, and also it's so much pressure standing here and having this conversation. So do I have your permission to just read? Because thanks. So worship is a response. Okay, it's not an icebreaker. It's not a talent show. It's us letting our guard down and opening ourselves up, both to give glory and honor, not because God needs it, but because He's worthy of it. And He is the great I am. And beyond the giving is a place of receiving from Him. And it's a beautiful exchange. If you know the song, you know where I'm coming from with that. And then when I was thinking about this Sunday, I was thinking about Saul and his Damascus experience, and the fact that it was a revelation of the heart of God, or the glory of God that changed who he was. And so sometimes we need God to reveal Himself to us. And I read a quote that says, it's one thing to know God intellectually. Like, we know him on paper, we know what the Bible says, but it's another thing to know God experientially, like to experience him for ourselves, so that we are witnessing, as Christians, we're witnessing of him or about him from a place of experiencing him and not just intellectually. Yeah. And so it's that revelation, that revealing of God to us that brings about a transformation. We're asked to not be conformed, but to be transformed. And so it's the revelation of the heart of God that brings about the transformation. And so I Googled the word transform. And according to the Googles, it says to transform is to make a marked change in the form, nature, or appearance of a person or a thing. And so when we think about the place of transformation, can you say that your experience of God has changed your form, your nature, your appearance? And then the realization that when we look at the analogy of God as a potter and we as the clay, it's truly because he desires to change our form, change our nature, change our appearance, so that we can be the true reflection and expression of his heart. And so as living sacrifices, our biggest undoing is that a living sacrifice, the difference between the sacrifice in the Old Testament and the New is that in the old times, they would bring a ram, a goat, a sheep, whatever, and then put it on the altar when it's slaughtered and then offer a sacrifice to God. But when we're called to be living sacrifices, it means we have to make the decision to stay put. And so today, I'd like us to make that decision, a very conscious decision to actually stay put, because that's the danger of a living sacrifice. We can always decide to stray away. And so my challenge to you today is to stay put at the altar, yeah, and to worship. We've said worship is a response. And you cannot, I don't think anyway, we can worship without letting our guard down, you know. And so as we stay put, may we let our guard down and then let God reveal himself to us. Yeah, because we said it's the revelation that brings the transformation. I'd like us to read from Romans 8:38 to 39. And I will read from specifically the in this one, I would like to read from the Message translation. It says, just a minute. I will read from the Passion Translation. It says, "So now I live with the confidence that there is nothing in the universe with the power to separate us from God's love. I'm convinced that his love will triumph over death, life's troubles, fallen angels, dark rulers in the heavens. There is nothing in our present or future circumstances that can weaken his love. There is no power above us or beneath us, no power that could ever be found in the universe that can distance us from God